I'm Jo O'Brien, and I experienced a fraud in 2022 in June.
And tell me the circumstances of that fraud.
Well, it was a divorce settlement, and I was looking for an investment for my money, and I went to a landing page which looked like Compare the Market, and I put in some details and to get some callbacks. And then the next day I received 2 or 3 phone calls from so-called banks asking me questions and would I like further information about investing my money. And one of them was a guy from AMP who I liked the sound of, and so I began talking to him, and that's how it started.
And this guy from AMP, I bet you he spoke with a very proper British accent.
He did.
Why are so many British accents involved it's across the spectrum here in Australia? They use British people to call people up. Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I started to wonder if the Pakistani guys spoke very well, very good English, because last year I was in London and I was in a taxi and I was having a conversation with a Pakistani guy who was driving, and I closed my eyes and listened to him speak, and he sounded very posh and very British. So I thought maybe, I don't even know if they are actually English or just well educated. Well, I wanted to invest $500,000. I called my bank and they told me my limit was $100,000, and all I needed to do was answer some questions, and they would allow me to do those transfers 24 hours apart. I ended up doing them over, I think, 2 weeks it took to transfer the 500. Yeah.
And then talk me through when you found out it was a scam.
I was driving my car. Not exactly sure how. I know that they didn't call me to tell me that I'd been frauded 500,000. I got a pop-up message. Please call the Commonwealth Bank. Your last payment has been blocked. So I thought I'll give them a call while I'm driving to the physio. I was driving down the freeway, and so I called some poor young guy who happened to answer the phone. Looked me up and then said, oh look, we believe that you've been defrauded, and we're not allowing any more of these payments to go through.
Do you accept you've broken Australian law?
Yeah, I do. Like, I made mistake. It wasn't intentional.
But who was Usman? Do you know who Usman was?
He's supposedly this guy in Dubai who's the real thief. He's the big wig.
Waheed denies involvement in the scam, but admits he did profit from it.
He paid me 5,000 for the first time, and then after maybe 2 weeks, he gave me another 8,000.
Obviously, he doesn't want to come back to Australia. He's just revealed on on public television that he committed a crime, and he was paid money to facilitate all of this this scam with Mehdi. So why would he ever come back to Australia?
And Mehdi and Waheed met at Sting Sports a very long time ago. So they've been friends probably since their early 20s. What do you think their relationship is?
I think their relationship's totally, they've become friends, partners in crime, legitimately. They've spent 10, 15 years ripping people off, transferring money to each other back and forth, and living the dream. Now I believe that they've fallen out over this because Waheed has totally thrown his wonderful friend under the bus, and that's what you get when you hang out with criminals and you call criminals your friends.
Victoria Police investigated, but so far no one's been prosecuted. Victims want the corporate cop ASIC to look into it.
I just can't understand how people can register companies with ASIC in Australia and be involved in this sort of activity with no consequences. So after we lost our case against the NAB in the Supreme Court, the next step for me in my endeavour to gain some kind of justice was to I didn't want the scammer to get away. Oh no, not the scammer. Can I say his name? Yeah, so I realised once I lost the Supreme Court case that I was not getting any money back. However, my personality is stubborn and a little bit vengeful, and I also wanted to stop this from happening to other people because it's life-changing and it happens too often. So I went down the road of suing the company, the sham company, which obviously that was easy. But then I wasn't satisfied. Then I really wanted to ruin the life of Hassan Mehdi, who ruined my life, and stop him from ruining other Australians' lives. So I took civil action against him for breach of his director's duties of his so-called company, which we know is a sham company, Supercheap Securities, and which was totally set up by him for the sole purpose of creating a bank account to funnel fraudulent money. So he tried to flee the country and they stopped him. That's how he ended up in prison, and they couldn't find anything on his computer, so they let him go. The police told me there's nothing to see here. They let him go. Anyway, once I lost the Supreme Court against the NAB, I went down the road of suing him for breach of his director's duties because I was hoping that I could then sue him, bankrupt him and ruin his life like he ruined mine. And I won that. And then the best part about that is now it's become a precedent, a historical precedent for future victims. So I think people are already referring to it, and that makes me really happy. So although I probably won't get a cent, at least I feel some justice